Fantasy XIII review. Yes, I finally beat up Final Fantasy XIII. Like, finally. Oh my god. This has been one of the hardest Final Fantasies I've ever played. So, I beat up the 360 version, but if you have a PlayStation 3, go with that, because that's the one which is in 720. Yet both of the versions are in 1080. So, Final Fantasy 13 isn't the best Final Fantasy in this franchise. It's the best looking though. Final Fantasy 10 is still on my top list. For those who have Final Fantasy 7 or 8 on their top list, yes, it will stay there if its position won't change. Let me tell you why. The story isn't as, you know, it's not like anything out there, which is a good thing about this game. It's totally different, but it's not as epical and deep like other Final Fantasies that we came to know and love. But still, it's a pretty good story. Now let's go to the good stuff of the game and the bad stuff of this game. Good stuff about this game that has amazing OST. Yes, I know it's not Nobuo Uematsu who's composing the music, but it's kind of nice and refreshing to hear a new soundtrack to this game. The best looking game in the Final Fantasy franchise. That means that it has some amazing and insane graphics, and it definitely is full with all this incredible backgrounds and character graphics. Pretty cool looking game from the graphics side. The characters are in full English lip sync from the start to the CG scenes to the end of the game. This is probably a revolution in itself, because this is the first Final Fantasy that is in complete lip sync in English language. The bad stuff about this game: the gameplay is pretty linear. You go from one point to your destination, and you are unable to go back and explore that place where you were in once your destination is finished. So that's a bad thing. So there's not a lot of exploring in this game. The game assigns you a team, and you are unable to switch between members at any time in the first 2/3 of the game, which I think is it's a very disadvantage, because sometimes you get assigned as a leader to the weakest character. And again, here's another bad thing about this game: if your leader dies, your team falls. So that's not a pretty good thing about it. You have a number of roles that is assigned to your characters, and every character have like 3 roles. And even if there are 2 characters who have the 2 exact same roles, like Hope and Vanille, they have a medic role, which means that they use their power to heal your party member. Still, Hope has more abilities than Vanille, because they made Hope more accessible to these abilities than Vanille. And so, you know, you're kind of in a pinch here, because Hope has the lowest HP and Vanille has a higher HP, like 2,000 more than Hope. So which one would I use? Would I use the one with the more abilities but with the less HP, or would I use the more HP but less abilities? That will put you in a pinch because of that. Also the development of the characters, they have something called the CP or the character points, which is the points that you use to develop your characters. You have something like the sphere grid in Final Fantasy X, but in Final Fantasy 13 you have this crystallization, I believe. And you use the character points to go from one point to the other. The problem is that to move from one point to the other, you have to spend a lot of character points, and you don't gain that from one battle. You have to gain that from a lot of battles, and because the monsters that you face are so much stronger than you, it's a little bit unfair. At a point in the start of the game, you have like 500 HP, and your opponent has 9,000 10,000 HP. In the end of the game, you have like almost 9,000, 10,000 HP. The opponents that you're facing are over 1 million and 2 million points. That's so unfair. And that's also a very big disadvantage because you spend a lot of time more on developing your characters than concentrating on the story. You're unable to switch between your characters until the end of Chapter 9. And then by the end of Chapter 9 or the start of Chapter 10, the characters will be assigned the rest of the 6 roles, because you have 6 roles in this game. Yet, the other 3 roles, or the other non-3 original roles that was given to your characters, you will have to spend tons of points to develop them. So you probably, those 3 other roles that was open to you, they're pretty useless to you because you won't spend all of that and all that character points and exactly not gain anything from these roles. The battle system is what I like to call the unusual 80B system. It probably has some good stuff and bad stuff about it. One thing that it has, you don't have any MP, which I think is a pretty cool thing. So you don't have to worry about running out of magic. But here's how it goes. You have 3 or 4 slots, and your time bar goes once it go to that or finish that slot, you can perform that action. So you have 3, 4, or 5 slots, so you have 5 actions to perform. So and the attacks in this game can exceed the 4 9s. They can sometimes go to 10,000, 20,000, and there's something called a chain, which is something that relates with the gameplay and how you play it when it comes to using magic and action and all that. That will be kind of explained a little bit through the game. So yes, the characters can perform powerful combinations, and you can see that probably in the last third of the game when you start to go on missions. Missions is given to you by the by Chapter 11, but they're pretty strong. In the last, the second half of the missions are pretty strong, so you need to again work out and spend a lot of time developing your characters if you want to beat those missions. Summonings are a little bit unusual because you're summoning, you can summon your characters and then they can turn into some sort of a something like Odin changed into a horse, Shiva changed into a motorcycle, Alexander changed into this huge wall. So they change into this weird formations and they give you kind of new attacks. They have a good thing about summonings, which is when you summon the summonings, if your characters are dead, once the summoning disappears, your characters come back alive with full HP. So that's a really good thing about summoning. So Final Fantasy XIII isn't the best one in the Final Fantasy franchise. It does have some unfairness when it comes to the battle system and the way that you develop your characters and even buying the items that you use to upgrade your weapons and accessories, or just buying weapons because they're pretty expensive compared to the amount of money that you make in this game. Yes, the game looks really cool, really smooth, it has amazing graphics. Story is unique, makes it stand out. It's not like these games that have the same plot, which makes when you're playing this game and play a different game, you feel like it's repetitive. No, it's not a repetitive game, which is again a very good thing about this game. So if you want to get into the RPG genre, go ahead, play this game. If you're already a Final Fantasy fan, then I believe that you already played the game, finished it, and restarting to play it again, because Final Fantasy games have a great value when you're replaying them, because in order to get it all, you have to play it at least 2 times. For me, this game is an A- game, and I would give it like an 8.5 because of the unfairness parts of it, but still it's a pretty decent Final Fantasy game. And that wraps up my review on Final Fantasy XIII.